Here.
Payne? Here. Campion?
Here.
Cruz?
Present.
Howard? Here. Okay, we're going to have a silent prayer and flag salute, so if you'd all stand and take a few minutes to say a little silent prayer for some of those who need it, and then we'll have the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bless you. You only get two of those.
Steve, is there anything you wish to report, please, from closed session?
Good evening, Mayor and council members. City Council was in closed session this evening on 3 items: conference with legal counsel on anticipated litigation, conference with real property negotiator, and conference with labor negotiator, and there's no action to report on any of those items.
Thank you. Liz, would you please read the video statement?
This meeting of the Galt City Council is being videotaped in its entirety and will be cablecast without interruption on Metro Cable 14, the Government Affairs channel on the Comcast and SureWest cable systems. Tonight's meeting can be seen on Channel 14 and will also be webcast at www.saxmetrocable.tv this Friday and Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. Tonight's meeting can also be seen via live video streaming on the city's website at www.ci.galt.ca.us. A DVD copy is also available for checkout from any library branch. Members of the audience wishing to address council should fill out a speaker identification form and give it to the clerk. Please speak into the microphone when addressing council and state your name for the record.
Thank you. Council, staff, is there any agenda approval, additions, and/or deletions?
I'd like to pull, when we get to it, on the consent E, 4, and 5.
Okay. Councilmember Cruz, did you have something or no?
No, I was just waiting for
Okay.
item F.
Over there, Council. Okay, well, we have a very special presentation tonight, and I'm really glad to see so many of you. It really makes our hearts sing. We're going to swear in some of our new police officers and dispatchers, and there you go, Miss Liz.
If you could join me and just right up front.
Mayor, Council, tonight I'm very proud to introduce the latest, although we try to do this about every 6 months, we're a little bit behind. I think we are pushing maybe 11 with one of the officers here before you. But tonight, starting from, it would be your left, your right, is Officer Brooke Bash. Officer Johnson, in fact, his wife had a baby within the last 2 days, and he's not with us tonight. And then we have Andrew Pratsuk, Megan Robinson. They changed the order on me here.
Yeah.
They did.
Thank you. Officer Lenahan, our newest officer graduated from the academy on Saturday, is Officer Cameron Grainer. We have dispatcher Jennifer Demas, and we have dispatcher Tracy Stenson. Okay, Liz.
I'm going to stand off to the side, but maybe you can hold it out. Okay. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. I, Brooke Bash, do solemnly swear. That I will support and defend. The Constitution of the United States. And the Constitution of the State of California. Against all enemies. Foreign and domestic. That I will bear true faith and allegiance. To the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take the obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and during such time
and during such time
that I am an employee
that I am an employee
for the City of Galt,
for the City of Galt,
I will faithfully discharge the duties
I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of police officer and dispatcher. Okay, of the office of and say your position. According to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
And we'd like you all to stay there for a minute, please, because it will be at the pleasure of the council and I to come down and personally shake each of your hands also. And we're also going to take about a 15-minute recess for cake out in the lobby for all of these fine ladies and gentlemen. So with that, we'll adjourn for about 15 minutes.
maximum of 3 minutes. Please fill out a speaker sheet located on the table inside the entrances to the council chambers and forward the completed speaker sheet to the clerk.
Thank you very much. And we have a couple that aren't on the agenda, if you want to.
Renee Moon.
Good evening, Renee Moon. Thank you for hearing me out tonight, but before I begin, I would like to thank Barbara Payne for responding to the email that I sent all of you. She responded the next day, and then I met with her on Saturday. Barbara, I really appreciate you taking out the time and making it a priority. You do well for the citizens of Galt, and I'm still waiting to hear from your colleagues. This is in regards to the Central Galt Overpass project. I would first like to address the issue of the sound wall. When the talks on this project began, we were told that there would be a complete sound wall. And when I called and talked with Gwen, to my surprise, she told me that the sound wall project was complete. Since the off-ramp is much closer, having a partial wall brings up the following issues. The whole privacy issue. When a vehicle comes off the off-ramp, they look onto the right and they have an eye view right into the house, which is about 100 feet from us. With the with the eucalyptus trees cut down and the 3 homes that were removed, the noise is much louder. The sound wall stops at our driveway and it doesn't look finished, and when you are in the house you get a better view of who's driving off the off-ramp so that you can wave goodbye to them. Plus it doesn't help having any landscape for the last couple of years. It's a complete eyesore. Trash issue. Some Galt citizens, as well as some people who visit this fair city, has a nasty habit of throwing their trash out as they exit off on the off-ramp. Who will be responsible for cleaning this up, and how often will this be done? Exhaust smell. When the vehicles wait for the green light, there's exhaust smell that comes down into that area where those houses are. We're having to change the filter on the air conditioning and heating more frequently. Safety factor, vehicle accidents, big rigs losing control, or drunk drivers going off the side. In the past, when we lived there, we had a handful of vehicles coming off the freeway and down the embankment. The dust issue from the freeway and from the vehicles. Always trying to keep the dust off the outside of the house. We have a water issue, so that's impossible. So what happens to the completed wall, the sound wall? Was it the city council that decided, or was it Caltrans that went with a partial sound wall? What was it? A funding issue? The second thing is a cyclone fence. Why is there a cyclone fence? If it's a safety issue, I'll address that, but it's obviously an eyesore as well when you're looking at a landscape area and you're looking through it in through a cyclone fence. But I just don't get it. You have a 6-foot cyclone fence which could be scaled if it is a safety issue, but less than 100 feet further down the cyclone fence ends and a 2-foot concrete retaining wall begins. On top of the wall are poles with 3 cables running through it. It would be much easier to scale a 3.5-foot fence. So why again do we need this fence? Could the cyclone fence be pushed against the wall, the sound wall? The third issue is who's going to take care of the landscape from the curbside to the cyclone fence? Is it being coordinated with Caltrans?
Ms. Moon, your time's up.
Okay.
Thank you for your comment.
Ms. Moon, first before you go, when did you send your email? Because I don't recall getting one.
It's right in my,
What day?
I sent it on the 3rd of May.
Of May?
Of May?
Of August.
Oh, look, I didn't see it.
Okay. And before she left, I did want to make a comment since I was out there. One of the things that I think that we need to be really careful, and I did discuss this with our city manager, when we have public hearings on projects like this that happened, I don't know how many years ago, that we had the public hearing. I know it's before this city manager was actually here, and we're explaining it. We need to really look at it from the people's viewpoint, from where they're going to be looking at it. And I know we try to be transparent, but not everybody can read plans and really know what's going on. So I'm hoping that we can keep that in mind in the future. So before it is what it is, we can really get better input. And I do know that the city manager has a couple of answers as far as why the cyclone fence is there, and if you don't mind, you might just share that. Okay.
Yeah, we'll have Ms. Gwen Owens, our Deputy Director and also Project Manager for that project, maybe offer some insight into a couple of these concerns.
All right, there we go. Let's start with the sound wall. Basically what happens when you have a project is you have a noise study. As part of the environmental document, the noise study evaluates the impact of doing the roadway improvements, and the regulation for what we have to mitigate for is both state and federal, and it's required for both CEQA and NEPA for us to do. So the length, the boundary, the location, the height is all determined based upon the noise study that's included in the environmental document. So that's why it's located where it's located. The other thing is cyclone fence is basically, it was a Caltrans requirement. It's on city Caltrans right of way, and it was one of the requirements basically for the sound wall because of the fact, or because to try and prevent people to be able to go around the sound wall. All of this stuff was done a significant period of time ago. The plans were put out to bid in 2010, so all of this was studied probably, 2007, 2008, etc. So we are in the process of actually doing the landscaping for the environmental impacts and also the landscaping for the medians. The landscaping that will be put in this area will be between the cyclone fence and actually the off-ramp. There's a whole host of trees and shrubs that will be located in that area. At this time, the area between the cyclone fence and the back of the curb is not going to be landscaped, but it will be set up irrigation-wise so that the next phase that we could come in and irrigate it. Regarding the trash pickup and then the maintenance, the city is responsible for both of those. We entered into an agreement with Caltrans, and basically, for the first 3 years after the project is completed, the contractor is on the hook on a monthly basis to go check out things such as trash within the Caltrans right-of-way, if there's any issues with irrigation, maintenance, etc., with the landscaping that they're currently doing. After the 3-year period, the city itself is responsible for that.
Thank you, Gwen.
Yeah, not happy. I'll be emailing you the rest of my, and I'll email you, Kurt.
Sure, thank you.
Okay, Jan Ellis.
Hi, I'm Jan Ellis, and I live in the big city of Galt at 144 Emerald Drive. I have a neighbor kid who happens to be a soccer team captain for the high school, and they had a scheduled car wash at Tractor Supply Place. And 3 days before they were going to do the car wash, for some reason or other, the permit, which they had gotten a month ahead, was pulled. So this kid and these kids on the team who had sold us tickets for car wash were very nice. They came around and said, we're not going to be able to do the car wash, here's your money back. I mean, we're trying to teach our kids to be good and honest and work for what and they were. I mean, they were willing to go out there and work at the car wash. And he does my car at home, and he brings his own bucket and mop and to do the car. And he knows you only turn the water on for so long to rinse it. And I would presume that's the way they were going to do it, because those are the Galt guidelines for doing car washes. But I was very disappointed that you pulled the permit and they weren't allowed to do it. So anyway, our neighborhood is taking up a collection, and we hope to. But I wanted to ask, would it be all right if they do a car wash, say, at one of our homes? Or maybe they could do the car washes at the person's home, rather than doing it at the Tractor Supply. I don't know, but it was a good fundraiser, and I think we ought to support our kids in any way we
I
can.
agree.
There was a couple
Why
of
was
things that we needed to clear up because you had talked to me about this, and one was a permit. It's my understanding that the city does not issue permits for car washes.
They had to get permission to do it, like,
I think they got it from Tractor Supply.
oh, okay, because they've done it there for a number of years.
The city hasn't pulled any permits. We would allow them to provide the car washing event there. So it wasn't, if there was a permit that was pulled, it wasn't from the city.
Okay.
It may have been Tractor Supply that pulled it.
Okay.
And then I think we also said that, or the information I got is that you can have your car washed if you go by the rules. You don't run the water more than 3 minutes, that you use buckets.
Right.
And you have a hose with shut off, so you're not wasting water.
Right.
Hope that helps.
I know he does it at my house when he does my car, but I didn't know how they did it at the Tractor Supply. But anyway, we want to keep supporting our kids.
Yeah, we do.
And speaking of supporting kids, I really love the kids' design, sculpture things down in the new
Roundabout.
roundabout. Those are fantastic.
Thank
you.
you. Thank you very much. Okay, we're at the information and consent calendar, and Kurt, you wanted to pull number 4 and 5. So would you read number 4, please, Liz? And then we'll talk about it.
Number 4, adopt a resolution revising the Galt market rules and regulations. And number 2, authorizing the city manager to have authority to revise and amend the Galt market rules and regulations that would only be in effect for up to 45 days.
Okay. Councilmember Campion?
And when I looked through the rules, I didn't see where the provision that the city manager has the ability to make the new rule included within the rules themselves. Is that not the case, or did I miss it?
It is not in the rules and regulations. It's in the resolution. And then the city has,
45.
sorry, let me read
That's
the
okay.
rules.
That's okay. Yeah, I didn't find it there, and I think if we're going to have a rule, which is a rule, it should be within the rules for the market's operation. I mean, that way, if a new rule comes about, you would be able to point to it and say, here's the authority, and this is the reason why.
The city manager, it's under 1B, the city manager or designee will have the authority to issue serial numbered and dated directives. It may be needed to clarify these rules and regulations to assure their fair and equal application to resolve any special situations or issues that may arise. And then what we do is we keep these in a binder, date them. Now with this resolution, we would come back, if we wanted to make it a permanent rule or regulation, we would come back to council and have them adopt it, discuss and adopt.
So under the what's the current procedure now for city manager designee directives? What's the current procedure? They're just in a box? I'm not following.
They've been implemented into this. Any change since 2002, there's been clarifications on rules
and they're just automatically incorporated in.
They are not. We've changed some of them in here now.
I'm just trying to figure out how. Well, I guess that's a different issue as what happened in the past. I'm trying to look prospectively, okay, in the future, if a rule is changed, or a directive, okay, you get a 45 directive, because this resolution just says the city manager can approve a new rule for 45 days, then it expires.
Correct.
It doesn't say how it becomes permanent. It just expires. Goes council. Right, so this resolution doesn't set forth the procedure by which the rule becomes permanent. The resolution gives the authority to establish it, but temporarily for 45 days, but the next step would point out that the city council would then have to, within that 45-day period, make the rule or policy or whatever a permanent part of the market rules in operation.
Yeah, that's what the resolution says. And the item number 2 says such revised or further rules shall only be in effect for up to 45 days unless ratified and approved by the city council.
Okay. Okay. Now, would that then end up in these rules?
We can add it if you'd like.
I think it should, because then it points out exactly what the process is. Okay.
Yeah, so we can basically take that number 2 and add it in
that could
to
go
the
the
rules.
first section of the yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd work. Okay, that's all I have.
Yeah.
Motion to approve.
Call for
Unless
vote,
there's any
please.
discussion.
I'm sorry.
Unless there's any discussion.
Was there any discussion, council? Okay,
With
Liz?
that amendment, that's correct.
With the amendment.
With the amendment?
Yeah.
Okay, call for the vote, please, Liz.
Vice Mayor Singleton.
Aye.
Councilmember Payne.
Aye.
Councilmember Campion.
Aye.
Councilmember Cruz.
Aye.
Mayor Powers.
Aye. Okay, Councilmember Campion, number 5.
Yes, just a quick question here. On the business contract for services for on-call consulting services, engineering, and I know that you have outside plan check done as well, but I know that engineering staff is involved even though there's outside plan check. My question was, is this a percentage of whatever the project cost is, or how does the city recover its cost for staff time involved in the plan review as well?
Well, the current city ordinance allows for imposition of fees on developers to do special studies
Correct.
or plan checks. So right now, we'd be collecting it through our plan check fees. If we needed outside others on call as needed, if we were doing development plan review, we would take and apply those fees. If special studies were necessary, that would be an extra on top of our normal plan check and improvement plan fees.
Right, but isn't there a set percentage or something that the city would receive for its participation? Because staff is also reviewing with the consultant. I mean, those costs, where are those costs recovered?
If we needed to impose a special requirement for fees beyond what the normal fee amount would be to cover our internal as well as external costs, we would probably make that a condition of approval, would be to enter into an agreement to do that.
So it's not on a standard fee schedule, right?
It would be assumed to be within the fee schedule, and if we recognize that that would not be sufficient as part of early conditioning process, we would likely require either the developer cover costs.
Okay, I get you.
Time and materials is usually how you handle it.
Okay. That was it. Thank you.
Okay, do you want to
Move to
move for that
approve.
one?
Yeah. move to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Council, any further discussion? Okay, call for the vote, please, Liz.
Vice Mayor Singleton.
Aye.
Councilmember Payne.
Aye.
Councilmember Campion.
Aye.
Councilmember Cruz.
Aye.
Mayor Powers.
Aye.
Unanimous.
And Liz, now could you read 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, and 8 for us, please?
Okay, number 1, approval of the minutes of the special and regular meetings of August 4th, 2014. Number 2, approval of the City of Galt warrants. Number 3, credit card processing citywide. We already handled number 4 and 5. Number 6, resolution of the City Council of the City of Galt designating filing positions and disclosure categories for conflict of interest. Number 7, approve materials purchase for restoration of the police department roof. And number 8, approve the Transportation Development Act claim for fiscal year 2013-2014.
Council, do I have a motion?
Move remaining items.
Second?
Second.
Any more discussion? Okay, call for the vote, please.
Vice Mayor Singleton.
Aye.
Councilmember Payne.
Aye.
Councilmember Campion.
Aye.
Councilmember Cruz.
Aye.
Mayor Powers.
Aye. Now we're
Unanimous.
at, I'm sorry, I keep forgetting that part. We're at the scheduled matters, the public hearing and consideration of water meter installation fees, and that's to you, Mr. Winkler.
Well, we went from swearing in to potentially swearing at, so we'll ask the audience to be civil with us tonight. And then we gave them cake to throw if necessary. So with that, a little bit of tongue-in-cheek levity. Madam Mayor, council members, this is the time and place set for a public hearing related to adoption of proposed water meter installation fees. The public hearing is to allow community input regarding the proposed fees and a final opportunity for affected property owners to submit written protests against the proposed meter installation fees. The proposed fees that we'll be talking about tonight only apply to current flat rate customers, typically that means without a meter, who have not already previously paid or their preceding owners have not previously paid a deposit for a future meter installation. That would be the project that is under construction as we speak, would be doing those installations. But only those who do not currently have a meter or have not paid a fee would be affected by this proposed fee. And we sent out notices to those that would be affected. As you'll hear in a moment, there were actually some over-noticing where we found that we had actually sent notices to folks, some folks who have meters, and subsequently had folks contact us relative to having previously paid fees. So we'll talk briefly about that as part of our following presentation. So actually some folks received notices that will not be subject to the fee. We've already removed several hundred from the 4,000 notices that were sent out. With that, I'd like Mr. Trin Trun, our project manager, Trin, will give a brief overview of the proposed water meter installation fees and related information.
And can I interject here real quick? I had some complaints earlier that you couldn't hear. Can everybody hear okay? I want to make sure. Okay, thank you.
I'm sure you can hear me, and I haven't got a microphone. I can speak clearly. Majority of you don't.
Okay.
Okay,
We'll
we'll
try to
try to
speak clearly.
speak clear.
Mr. Tron, don't mutter.
Yes, please.
Can you repeat it, please?
Thank you.
No, I'm sorry. The gentleman there muttered something after I spoke, and I would like to hear what he said.
I think Steve said, told me just in joke, just to not to mutter. And so it's just, let me move on with the presentation. Thank you, Mayor, member of the council. My name is Trung Trin, Public Works Department, and tonight is the consideration of the water meter installation fee. This is the presentation outline. I'll talk about the project background. I'll go into some detail on the proposed water meter fee, the basis for the fees, the public hearing and the protest process, and I'll turn it back to Steve for the recommended action. Project background, water meters required by January 2025. This is essentially California Assembly Bill 2572. Water agencies are required to install water meters and charge customers water metered rate by 2025. In 1990, the city began collecting water meter fees deposits, and in 2004, the city required builders and developers to install meters in new homes. Last August 2013, the city awarded a contract to Global Water Fathom for the water meter project. The city opted for a complete citywide meter automation. All customers will be metered and charged meter rate after the completion of this project. This puts the city ahead of the schedule to meet state mandate. Also, the meter provides a great tool for the city to track water use and conserve water. This was a good decision in light of the current California drought situation. Leading up to the contract award, staff held a workshop to discuss how to fairly charge customers that have not already paid their water meter fee. Generally speaking, these are properties that were built prior to 1990. It was discussed how much to charge the these customers if the customer should be charged the full amount of the meter fee installation, a portion, or should be charged the customers nothing at all. Staff recommended that to charge the customer the full amount of the meter fee was not fair, but also not to charge the customer, the affected customer, and spread the cost out throughout the city was also unfair because it put a burden on people, on customers who have already paid for the water meter fee. So staff proposed the water meter fee based on paying just a portion of the total water meter installation cost. This is the City of Galt's water service demographics. There are 949 metered customers, businesses and residents. There are 3,248 customers who have no meters, but they have paid a water meter fee deposit. Each represents customers with properties built after 1990, generally speaking. And there are 2,883 customers that have no meters and have not paid a water meter deposit. These are the customers that the city is asking to pay for a portion of the total water meter installation cost, and these are the customers that the city is required to follow the Prop 218 process to notify them. This is the proposed water meter fee rate. The meter fees are charged based on the size of the meter. For a typical family, there'll be a 3/4-inch meter install. There's a one-time charge of $300. Also, there's the option to pay in a 36-month period, $10. Based on the city's billing cycles, we bill every other month, so this would be $10 per bi-monthly for 18 monthly cycles. Staff sent fee notice mailed to customers, affected customers, June 26, 2014, per Prop 218 process. As Steve mentioned, over 4,000 notices were sent to customers, to owners, and to renters. Steve mentioned that we did send several hundred in error, and immediately upon catching our error, we contact the customer, we call them, we just let them know that we sent the notice in error, and we corrected our address list. And independently, we also ran an independent audit of our system to make sure that our address was complete. Talk a little bit about the fee basis. As mentioned previously, the fee charge is based on the purchase of the meter and the radio device here, and the standard installation cost. The fee does not include the meter box, the lid, any of the non-standard fittings, or any of the non-standard installation costs. Also, as mentioned, there's an option for a 36-month payment plan. With the payment plan, there is a $33 administration fee for processing the paperwork, and there is a 5.1% interest for the term of the loan for 36 months. All the owners are being asked to pay for the water meter fee. The city is required to notify them per the Prop 218 process, 45-day notice, hold a public hearing, receive protests, and if we receive more than the majority protests, then the city may not impose the fee. So for a protest to be valid, it has to be written by the owner, it must be signed, it must be received by the clerk by the close of this public hearing. Only one valid protest per affected owner, per affected property, and staff, we have handed out protest forms, and I think the clerk has received them. In our particular case, the affected owners are 2,883, so half of that plus 1 representing the majority is 1,442. So with that, I think I would like to ask the clerk to tally the current number of protests.
I have received 70 protests. Some of them have not been validated because they were done this evening. Most of them have not been validated.
So that does essentially complete my presentation, and I'd like to hand over to Steve to go over the recommended action.
Thank you, Trin. Next slide, please. So again, this is the date and time set for a public hearing under Proposition 218 prior to, in addition to noticing property owners and, in this case, affected customers at least 45 days in advance, which was done. We also must then conduct a public hearing, giving an opportunity to receive oral comments from the community at large, for or against. It does also give us an opportunity to issue one final call for any written protests prior to the close of the public hearing. And Madam Mayor, I would suggest that prior to the close of the hearing, you make that one last request. We do have staff here. They do have forms. If there's anybody that wishes to file a written protest that is an eligible affected customer or property owner, you're encouraged to get a form and turn it in to any one of our staff, or bring it up and we'll get it to the clerk so that we can get that counted as part of the protest process. Upon conclusion of that, we would, unless there are ongoing enduring questions that we're not able to resolve tonight, we would recommend that you close the public hearing after receiving comments and testimony. And that at that point, if there is not a majority protest, we would continue to recommend that the fee be imposed as part of our funding component for the multi-million-dollar meter installation program. We'd be happy to answer any questions at this point from council, or you may proceed to the public hearing at your pleasure.
Council, I think I'll hold you guys till last, if you don't mind. We'll see what the comments are from our constituents. I just want to note before we open the public hearing that the public hearing is just a time for you guys to come up and give your comments. We'll take them and write them down, but it's not time for staff to answer you back. It's just a public hearing with your comments, and we'll take them down. So with that, I'm going to open the public hearing, and Liz will call you as your name is on the paper. So I'm going to open the public hearing.
Okay, Lori Ewer. After Ms. Ewer, Charles Nelson.
Hi, I'm Lori Ewer. I live at 115 Amore Court here in the city of Galt. And I have a couple of questions and a couple of concerns regarding the water meters. The first one being that if there's no fee structure, that what is water going to cost us, and going to water meters, considering the fact that we have until 2025, that we're doing this big rush to pay for it as we come out of a recession, as people in the community are struggling to go back to work, for the housing economy to come back, for the construction to come back, and at this point we want to move forward so quickly on something that could be phased in over a period of time. My other concern is regarding the 5 points, the interest rate being charged for to customers who can't pay $300 all at one time. It might, the difference in $300 could be the difference between them feeding their family that month or paying for a water meter. And a lot of people don't want to end up being charged interest rates. I don't think the city should be in the business of charging customers interest rates. So if we're going to allow people to have a schedule, customers should be allowed to pay it on a monthly rate, and they shouldn't be charged interest to do that. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Charles Nelson, then George Williams, after Mr. Nelson.
Thank you for the opportunity to address the council and city staff. Appreciate it. My name is Charlie Nelson. I live at 158 Brody Drive here in town. I am a homeowner. It is paid for. The only people I owe are the tax people on an annual basis. I'm in strong opposition to the proposed water meter installation fees for water users in the city of Galt. The state of California mandates that we have them, and the city of Galt proposes that the citizens of the city pay for them in the form of a fee, and to which I'm opposed, and I'll elaborate on that in just a minute. If the city council really wanted to be fair with the citizens of Galt, they would have put this proposed fee on the ballot for the voters of Galt to decide, and that's not unheard of. I've lived in the city for 29 years. Over the years, there's been a number of requests for money from the city for different things. Schools, my property taxes increased to help support schools in the area. Another was a sales tax increase, obviously to help support our police staff in protecting the city. State AB 2572 was adopted in 2004. The city council has had 9 years to put an issue like this on the ballot, but did not, and in my opinion, has decided to put the financial burden on the citizens of Galt. And I don't think that's fair. The city council has had 9 years to put it before the voters. You have another 9 years before it has to be finally mandated and put into action. That leaves another 9 years to let the citizens of Galt decide. And you might say, well, it's just the landowners. Well, all the citizens of Galt, I think, voted when it came time to increase property taxes for the schools. And so people who were not landowners, property owners, voted either for or against those that did own property. I think it's a fair thing to do, and one of the things that upsets me about the process is the fact that it's charging along its path and being supported by the city, when in 2013 it was pointed out that it was decided to put out a contract for the water meters. But again, no input from the city or the citizens of the city based on how they felt regarding having another fee imposed. So, in all due respect, it's probably a slam dunk, isn't it? It's going to be done. But it leaves a bitter taste. It doesn't leave a good taste in one's mouth about how things are proceeding.
Your time's up. Thank you for your
Thank you very
comment.
much. George Williams?
Yes, I'm George Williams. Good evening, council, mayor. I'm a homeowner here in Galt. I'm not against or opposing the water meters, but I do oppose the fee that you're going to try to charge us. I want to know, are we going to get a separate bill for the water? Right now, it's a flat rate. He charges like $70 for a flat rate of water. Is that bill going to change from the sewer and the storm drain? Number two, how are you going to charge for the water? Is it going to be charged in CCFs or units? Those are questions we need answered, on how the water is going to be delivered and charged after we do get the water meters installed. Right now, at a flat rate, it's a burden on a lot of people, paying $200 every 2 months just for water, sewer, and that's going to bring up the bill to probably approximately $300 for just having the water meter and paying the bills. So these are things you guys should consider before you impose this on people. So thank you.
Thank you. David Darchuk, and after that, Wharton.
Council, my name is Dave Darchuk. I live at 159 Banff Court. I've been a citizen of Galt here for about 25 years now. My questions are, one, same as my neighbor Charlie, why was this never put out to the public? Why wasn't it voted on? But with that already said, who owns this water company? Is this a municipal water company owned by the city? Is this owned by an outside company?
It's owned by the city.
How will the funds be distributed? Will it maintain itself? I worked for a company, a water company, a city water company in Southern California many years ago. The water company totally supported itself, but the funds did not go into the general fund. They went back into the water company. So there was no cost for the meters, the service, or anything else for the customer, which to me just made sense. Self-supporting, city. Is that happening here? I attended a meeting, I won't say the last meeting that dealt with this, but a meeting a few months ago, and I heard a proposal, or I shouldn't say a proposal, excuse me, talk that there will be different tiered costs. If you use more water, you'll pay more. I'm under the impression that water flows in a gallon as we meter it, and you pay by what you use, regardless of how much you use. If you use 100 gallons and it costs you $100, that's what it costs. Not if you use 200 gallons, now you're going to pay $250. I don't think that's fair. That's not fair. But I haven't heard any discussion or any talk about what that hasn't come up for the vote. Seems like there's an awful lot of dictating going on here in the council, dealing with the city. And I think you hear this word far too many times nowadays, we need to be transparent. Well, we need to be transparent. Because as pointed out earlier, we're coming out of a recession. You want to charge money, you want to charge a loan, are you into loan sharking? Come on, not the city. You want to charge your public, your voters, to put in a water meter? Who's going to maintain that meter? Whose responsibility is it? When they move, does it go with them? They paid for it. Of course not. Is it going to have to be paid for again? No. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, Wharton, then Jean Davenport.
I'm Maureen Wharton. I live at 1130 Wild Poppy Court, and I don't really think I need that too much. Like the gentleman, I'd like to know why we're having to pay for this meter. Right, $340. Low-income people, senior citizens, they're all having to pay $340. We're on fixed incomes. We're not like you people. We're not like the governor. We don't live in mansions. We live in tidy, tiny little houses, and we're having to pay $340. Again, like the gentleman, there has never been a ballot on this. You've not asked the citizens of Galt what they think. Maybe you should. You're elected by them. You're supposed to be here to serve them, not to self-serve. I'm sorry, I think this council goes way beyond what it should do. If you are telling us we have got to do something, you are telling us how we have got to spend our hard-earned money. And I object to that very, very much. My money is hard-earned and is subject to an awful lot of things that your money isn't subject to. My money is subject to exchange rates because my money comes from England. Subject to exchange rates and fluctuations in banking systems. I lost every penny of my savings when the banks went broke. Every single penny that I had. And now you're asking me to turn around and pay for a water meter? What happens if I move? Do I take it with me? No. It will stay there for the next person that comes in. Will you charge them $340? You say, oh, well, you'll move to a house where there is already a meter. Somebody's already paid for it. If I go out of state, that's not the case. And the way California is going, there are a hell of a lot of people moving out of state. Perhaps you should consider that. Thank you.
Jean Davenport.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, Gene.
I'm Gene Danforth, I live in the city. Tonight, the gentleman spoke on the water agency and how we do this. You guys don't have to pass this tonight. You don't have to, because they recommended it regardless. You don't have to say okay. One, the proposed fee for this water meter is like double dipping. You're charging us something that we're supposed to get as customers when we pay our water bill anyway. That is double dipping, period. I don't care how you explain it, that's what it is. Secondly, these things are not mandated until 2025. Why are you going to impose a fee structure set up for over 3 years and administration fees of $23? Ridiculous. Throw the administration fees out. You guys aren't worth $23 per customer. It's just not good. But the fact of the matter is, if they're not mandatory until 2025, why are we having to do this within 3 years to these people? Most of the people that are going to be affected by this are low income. Period. There's a lot of houses on the western side that this is going to affect. Put that into perspective when you go forward. Put the payments out till 2025. I don't really care if a department says, well, we need the money now. Learn to live without, just like we are. Government is getting fat and lazy. They're putting these fees on us on a daily basis. We got a governor that wants to put in tunnels, and he's fracking crazy. And that's what he is. And the bottom line is, you guys don't need to pass this tonight regardless of what they say. It's just not right. Not today. Not now. And if you're going to do this, regardless of what they say they need you to do, take it over until 2025. And you know what the monthly payment would be? Probably about $4. I think people can live with that better than they can with the 30 or whatever you guys want to do. So I just think you guys need to open your eyes a little bit to this and say, let's stop, slow down, take it back, because we don't have to do this today. We got till 2025. Thanks.
Okay, do we have anyone else left? Okay, so I'm going to close the public hearing and ask if there's anyone out there that's done the written, correct? We need one last chance to submit a written request. And then, council, do you have anything to say, or Steve, you want to address some of the issues, or no? Okay.
Excuse me, are these comments written?
Yes.
Okay, let me open it up again. Oh, the written, I'm sorry.
Maybe as we're collecting those, I did hear a comment that, why weren't these forms mailed out? Those are put together as a courtesy, given that we knew there'd be time constraints tonight. Any form of written protest that identified the party, had a signature, and the address would be accepted as a written protest. All they had to say was, I protest the fee on any type of paper. So there's no required form. We knew there would be people coming in tonight that wouldn't necessarily be prepared with paper and pens, and we want to make sure you had an opportunity to quickly turn in a protest if you like. So we do welcome those forms. There have been, Madam Mayor, I'll just maybe touch on a couple of things that I've heard and maybe give a little bit of staff perspective. This is the time, there's many concerns about why hasn't this been put on a general ballot. This is the time for public input. It is their chance to protest, essentially vote against, and only those that are affected get to control whether or not they are in favor or in protest. If you put it on a citywide ballot, then 2/3 of the city that aren't required to pay the fee would be voting on whether to impose a fee on 1/3. And so there were some fairness concerns raised. I would just pose that this is actually the fairest form, that those who are affected get to control their own destiny through the majority protest process.
You say that the only protest you accept is the one that put in here.
No.
That's not what he said.
All residents that were affected by the fee, and some who are not affected by the fee, received a 4-page notice that provided frequently asked questions, answered many of the questions I've heard here tonight, and advised of how to turn in a written protest. They've had 45 days to turn in a written protest prior to tonight, and tonight would be the final opportunity prior to the close of hearing.
Excuse me, Madam Mayor. You know, this is a recorded public hearing, and in order to get everybody's comments on the microphone, we need to have people come up to the microphone, or else their comments are not part of the hearing. And also, when there's multiple people speaking, it also, those comments are not able to be made out on the record. So if we could have comments, people that want to make comments come up to the microphone, that would help in the process.
You can come up and just state your name for the record.
I'm sorry I was late. I got here half an hour later than the meeting started because I'm working. It seems like, you know, I would like to retire in 7 years, but the way fees kept going up, I look at my bill and you see all these fees where when I came here like 25 years ago, it was pretty simple. And you seem government seem to look at us as this bottomless pit, you know, a money tree. You go out, you need some more money, and you pull it out. You know, we passed the taxes. The taxes in Galt are the highest in one of the cities that's the highest in Sacramento County. And even though there's supposed to be accounting and everything, for people that are busy, working, living their lives, I don't have time to look at your books and see how the money is spent. And it makes me nervous, you know, that these fees are going to be collected. Where's the accounting? You know, you talk about transparency, or somebody in the audience did. I don't see transparency from the government. So my name is Margaret Romero. I live at 331 Mildred Avenue, and I just put in my protest. And like when you said, you had 45 days, you know, life is busy for people that are working and just trying to survive with the economy the way it is. But everything else keeps going up, PG&E, SMUD, and these fees. And you're like a prisoner because you happen to own property, because you were responsible. You saved your money, you go out there and you work, and you get to pay. That's it.
Okay, is there anyone else that wants to come up and say something?
Yes. My name is Connie Coker, and I moved to Galt about a year ago.
If you guys could just listen to the lady that's speaking, please.
On the proposal, you're asking for a vote to see if we want to pay for the meters, and if we don't want to, then we don't have to. So why even bother? I mean, just say, well, you don't have to, instead of saying, let's take a vote and see if you have to or not. And then you say you have 45 days to look at this letter. You guys have 11 years to impose the meters. So that's not fair.
Thank you.
My name is Laura Janovich, and I'm the property owner of 134 Branding Iron Way in the city of Galt. I never received the information. In fact, the information I did receive, my tenant gave to me, and it's not in my name. So, and I wrote a letter. Does that even count? I've been this property owner for 5 years now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Maybe just to quickly clarify, that's an excellent question, as many of these comments have been. Yes, a property owner or a customer, meaning the person who is paying the bill, either can protest. Only one protest per property will be counted, but either can protest in writing. We use the county's tax rolls, names and addresses for property ownership because the city doesn't maintain those records, so we had to use the county records, and then we used our billing system records for those who are actually paying the account, and we mailed to both lists of record. That's why for some 2,000 properties, over 4,000 notices went out. If someone did not receive a notice, either the county records or our city records, we often get return billings. That's the only records we have as to who the current account holder is. So it's the best available records to the city. Or if you did not get one of these, it's because you're not being required to pay or asked to pay the fee. So only those were mailed to those who either property owners of record or water account holders of record with the city should have received the notice.
And I'll add,
Only those who do not have a water meter and have not paid a fee previously.
and I will add, for the last 45 days, we did receive 40 letters through the mail and then 30 letters tonight.
Hello, my name is Christine Harris. My husband Robert is sitting over there. We live at 150 Branding Iron Way here in Galt, and we love the city. I was born and raised around here. And I work in Folsom, so when you said let's move to Galt, I was just a little concerned about the commute. But we've been here for 3 years now, and we love our home. The thing I'm opposed to, I know that water meters are coming. You know, I've already had 2 people say at this meeting tonight, it is what it is, and that really upsets me because I don't think that's a very nice thing to say. You know, we're all trying to live life and trying to make it through the day, make it through the years, make it through life. I'm just opposed to the interest rate that's added. If you have enough money or enough time or enough resources to be able to, you know, come up with $300, well, fine. But if you don't, and you're trying to sort of live paycheck to paycheck, I just don't think it's fair to add the interest. So that's how I feel about that.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, since I haven't been at a meeting before, I apologize about the shorts. I'm retired. My name is Tom Santiago. I live at 206 Sandpiper Drive. Couple things. I kind of wish that we would have got copies of the presentation because there's a lot of bullet holes in there. A lot of the stuff that you assume. The studies that were done, you take a look at these folks that have already paid for their meters. They paid for it out of the price of their homes. That's spread out over 30 years. You're telling us to spread it out over 3 years. For others, when you take a look, when you're going to start utilizing rate structures, that's going to happen what they did with gas. People start taking a look, they're going to cut back on their usage, and then the metering, you're not going to gain enough revenue. Then what are you going to do after that happens? You're going to start jacking up the rates again. It's going to happen. You have to take a look. You have to take a look ahead, look at the future. Just don't look at this thing in the studies and take for granted what's been done here. Granted, you guys do good work, but there's a lot of things that you really should take a look at public opinion, what they're going to. I would have had a town hall meeting on this to allow people to go ahead and ask questions back and forth so you have better dialogue. This is difficult with 3 minutes to try to exchange different ideas where you really could have had something that would have been a little bit more worthwhile. Thank you.
No, here he comes.
Maybe not the last one, I don't know. If you want this, you got it. It's the sign-up sheet. Al Baldwin, a concerned citizen of Galt. It's a city of character, and I'll tell you, I've heard tonight the good and the bad. Neither one was ugly, but it was concerned people out here talking about rates on the water meter. And I applaud them for coming tonight to give their opinion. This is what it's all about. I've been coming to these meetings for, say, 17 years. I've seen councils come and go. I've seen water meters being discussed, not months ago, but years ago, by another city manager, or city manager now. The thing that concerns me tonight with the water is some of the comments, and I just couldn't sit there and let it go by. I'm a person of character. And hey, when you're a person of character, you live in a glass house. And everything is shown to everybody, so it's not easy. But when the council is accused of not being fair, and I heard the integrity of this council in a negative way, I had to get up here and say, look, I know what's been going on through the years, and I applaud these people for coming in here, but they don't know, and they never have come, most of them, to the council meetings to learn about it. So they wonder, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? My question is, why didn't you come and ask? Now you're concerned when it happens. The council has gone through a lot, and I'll tell you that tonight, it's no different than it was 5, 10 years ago when we were doing other things. The council has got a major decisions that they have to make for this city. You elected them to it, and they're doing the best they can with what they got, and they have qualified people, and they make qualified people that they hire know what they're doing. They aren't just getting to you, messing you up in this city. They're doing the best they can with what they've got. The integrity has been very good. I can tell you, I've seen some that have not had the best integrity, but this particular council now is doing the best that I've seen in quite a while. I just had to say, you guys, hang in there, and I think your discussion is going to clear up a lot of this stuff. I can understand money pinching, believe me. I'm a senior, and I'm over 65. I'm over 70. Let's put it that way. I'm even, well, anyway, I'm up there, and believe me, I understand what's going on with the $500, $300 a month with the seniors. And it's not easy, and I wish we could cure it by this one, but there's more challenges ahead. So hang in there and do the best you can. You've been doing
Time's up,
Thank you.
Mr. Baldwin. Thank you very much, Al.
How you doing, Council? My name is Daniel Hansen. The only thing that my main concern is, one, the interest rate. It doesn't make no sense that city is charging interest rate on people for their own water meters that the city is actually going to own. Two, the council members that you are all up there right now, you don't know what's going to happen in November. So when you go to make this vote right here, you need to understand you can table this, because if you don't table this, we can rescind it when it happens in November, if there's a new council voted in. But I really think you guys ought to take the time to really think this over, because you do have quite a few concerned citizens out here that are concerned about this proposal. And if you put in a proposal, sure, we only have 45 days to rescind it. Your proposal goes through today, everything's set in stone. But if we have a completely different council up there in November, you never know where it's going to go.
I'm not very good with words, so forgive me. Likely we'll be bouncing around. So my name is Lyle Legg. I live 708 Airway, been involved for about 25 years. Sorry. Like I said, I'm not very good at this. Prior to the meeting, somebody showed me some paperwork that came out of the city. There is approximately $11 million already set aside for the water meter project. I'm concerned. I'd like to know where that money is, and if it is in fact factored into the cost of meters. So question number one. So I also composed a couple of letters, and I'd like to paraphrase some of them. And it's an opinion, it's my opinion, the installation of water meters is an opportunity to charge the Galt constituents additional impact fees, surcharges, maintenance fees, meter reading, building analysis and follow-up, water costs, resources to do shut-offs and shut-offs. The water meter project is supposed to be completed by 2026. I ask why the escalation. I can only assume it is to raise more funds for projects. The entertainment complex, the new shooting range. And I also understand that you have approximately $700 million plus in projects on the books. Congratulations. It's absolutely phenomenal that you have that much on the way. It's also a known fact that when a drought situation occurs, the community in the state of California, including Galt, does support conservation measures. It has already been reported that the conservation measures have provided a 22% reduction in the overall usage of the family home water usage. The reduction of usage is due to reducing watering of lawns and irrigation of larger properties. A concern I have is our constituents, our community is faced with the solution of resolving the drought situation. I have to ask, what is the impact of the hundreds of acres of vineyards that have been installed around over the last 5 years, and what impact it has in regards to the water table? Why are we the solution and not all the thousands of acres or hundreds of acres of vineyards? Galt is a community of a large amount of retired citizens, hardworking community members, and in many cases can't afford to pay the extra $300 installation fee. In all due respect, why is the community of Galt responsible for the water table rather than the surrounding farming community? They need to have some additional responsibility for that. Most of the opinions here in my own town, we have my neighbors, do share in the same concerns. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to close it now. Okay. Council, anyone have anything they want to say? Okay.
Questions on here? Steve, waking up there? A couple of questions. During the discussion, you mentioned something about the fee does not cover box lids or the boxes themselves or non-standard connections. Are those going to be additional fees imposed upon the ratepayers?
The currently proposed fees were an attempt to balance excessive, all-inclusive costs somewhere between there and providing them for free. But the problem with free is there really is no free. I mean, everything the city does is paid for one way or the other by the taxpayers of the state or the United States if it's federal funded. In the case of the water enterprise, all of the water fees are dedicated to providing water, and water meters are a new mandate. So what we've looked at is, well, what have others in the city already paid for? If they've already paid for a meter with the purchase price of their home or with the payment of a deposit for a future meter, and the future is now here, that is it fair to ask them who have already paid to pay for the meters for those who haven't paid for them when they've already paid for them in one fashion or another? So that was one of the questions that we brought to council as far as some policy guidance. And we've recommended this sort of middle-of-the-road approach. And then we've recommended that it be the straightforward cost of the meter, standard installation, as if it were meter ready, and that would include the cost to purchase the meter and the cost to have it installed. And it would not include a bunch of extras for extra fittings, or if there wasn't a meter box, or if the meter box wasn't the right size, or if the lid was broken. It would just be the meter, the transmitter, and the standard installation cost is what is proposed in this current fee schedule. We are recommending that water rates pick up the rest of the costs that would go with the program. There's been a lot of concern and question about why an interest rate, why an administrative fee. Those are recommendations. The council may choose to direct that we waive those, but if we do not charge those, we've borrowed money to fund the meter installation program that will have to be paid back with rates. And if we don't then charge the cost of money, then other users who already have meters are now helping to pay for these new meters. And that's a policy decision this council can make, and we would certainly honor that. So what we've tried to do is present a balanced approach that provides reasonable equity among those who have not paid for a meter and those who have already paid for a meter, and try to strike a reasonable balance. We can also look at a longer term of payment. I've heard that mentioned several times. We can do that. Your interest price and cost of money go up. So, you know, there are variables that we can certainly look at if the council would like. A couple other quick comments just based on some of what we heard tonight, and I won't try to answer every question. Why the rush? A policy decision and options were presented to council, and it was decided it would probably be most cost-effective to proceed sooner rather than wait until there's a rush statewide at the end of the period to install meters, and you will see that, and you won't be able to afford or get or find contractors when we're down to a deadline statewide as one factor. Secondly, by going citywide all at once, we got a very good economy of scale. We're getting put in for some among the best price that I've seen up and down the valley for other communities that are proceeding. Many communities are doing a phased approach, Lodi to our south. They're on phase 4 and they have to keep going back with these fee proposals, and we felt that, and I've recommended that we sort of take the pill, a bitter pill, and swallow it and get the medicine and move on. We can certainly look at payback periods, spreading rates out over longer periods of time. There are just cost implications to doing that, and we'd be happy to run some numbers for council if they would like.
Not done yet.
Go ahead, Mark.
Okay, what happens if we eliminate the administrative fee and the interest rate completely?
Before we go on to that, I have a question on his original question. It says, you told us that what was being paid for, how are the meter boxes, the upgrades, lids, and non-standard fittings, and installation costs, how is that being paid then?
Anything that is not being paid for through any approved fee will be spread to all users of the water system as a water system cost and ultimately paid
So those that already have meters will be paying for the retrofit on non-metered sites?
Right.
Any non-standard costs, yes. And that would be similar in precedence to as the city goes to replace meters, if there are upgrade costs, box modifications, the ratepayers would absorb that. Commercial meters were upgraded a number of years ago, and those costs were spread to, the meters were already paid for, those costs to upgrade were spread to the users of the water system. So it's not unheard of.
The meters were actually installed by the developer.
In residential?
No, in commercial, well, in commercial as well.
New commercial, yes.
Right.
When the meters were originally put in to move away from a flat rate for commercial,
right.
The water fund actually paid for a number of those meters to actually capture fugitive revenue.
I wasn't aware of that.
I'll go back there for a second. So what you're telling me, if I understand what you just told the councilman, was those boxes are going to be still spread across all the ratepayers, correct? All the
All they already paid for.
Right.
Any non-standard costs are being recommended to be absorbed by the water system and paid for by all users. And that was a balancing act between what's a reasonable rate to be charging at this time.
I think it's important to know, though, that we're not proposing to raise rates to pay for that. We believe there's enough sufficient revenue within the existing system.
Well, we don't know that. We don't
costs.
know that. Excuse me, Jason, we don't know that because we don't know what the tiered rate is going to be. So we don't know.
But it doesn't have anything to do with the rate. We have a fund balance in the existing, we have existing fund balance that have been paid over years that's sufficient to pay for the water meter installation, including all the costs associated with the fittings and so forth. So we don't need to generate any additional revenue except for the amount of money we're talking about tonight. So there is an existing water meter rate that's already in place. We're not talking about tiered rates. We have an existing water meter rate that's in place that will remain in place after a period of time once we figure out.
Well, why wouldn't we use those funds to offset the cost for the installation of the meters? If the ratepayer paid for it, why wouldn't we use those funds to pay for the meters?
Well, there's not enough to pay for all of the installation costs. And in order to do that, then we would have to spread those costs over all of the ratepayers. And we could do that. The City Council has the option of spreading those water meter installation costs over all the ratepayers. We had that discussion over a year ago. And it was decided at that time that it was more equitable because certain residents had already paid into the system, that those people that hadn't paid in, they would pay their fair share. And that was what was determined at that time. That certainly could be changed, and the council could determine to spread that over all of the ratepayers. But then we had, if you recall, we had residents that had paid that fee previously that had come in at that meeting and argued that it wasn't fair to have them pay again when they had already paid their fair share.
And I agree. Those people that have paid or have their meter installed, they shouldn't have to pay again. I agree with that. But then you had the partial readies, those with boxes but were hard piped through. Some of them were, and I don't know, there's varying degrees of readiness for each one of the meters, from you can walk out, pull the box, drop the meter in, and you're done, I assume, to you've got to tear out concrete, install a box because you've got a straight line with a turncock for on-off valve. And that's it. So the cost differences are significant, I would suspect.
Yes, they are.
Can I go back?
Go ahead.
Okay, thanks. I'd like to make a suggestion, and probably get shot down for this, I'm going to throw it out there anyway. I don't see a reason for charging an administrative fee or an interest rate. I agree with the people out there about that.
And I do want to bring up.
Hold on.
No, I want to bring up though that was brought up by other council members way back when too. So I think that it's fair that people know that we haven't just been sitting up here grappling around with all this stuff. We have discussed all of it. We've talked about it. We've beat it to death. We've had so many meetings that nobody else showed up to. But now when it comes down to the down to the finish line, then everybody shows up. But you don't know what has gone on before that.
Isn't the finish line where it counts?
No, because no, it isn't. Because if you want to know what's going to happen,
I'm going to be a stickler here, Madam Mayor. I have the floor.
Okay, go ahead. But it's.
I've been stepped on twice. We're done.
Well, it's not fair for you to.
I understand that. I have something I want to bring forward. I'm going to bring it forward. Then I'll shut my mouth.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, again, eliminate the administrative fee and the interest rates. Pretty simple, pretty easy, everybody's happy. Nobody's going to be happy with water meters. It's just the fact that the state's going to impose it upon us. Instead of doing a 3-year payout on this, let's make it 5 years. It averages out to maybe $4 or $5 a month. Again, without an interest rate, it doesn't matter. We're still getting the money back. We're still balancing out that loan that's been paid. Is there an issue with that? I'm asking.
The only issue is that we are paying interest on a loan that we would be absorbing at the expense of all users.
But who's the loan from? Who are we loaning the money from?
It's a private placement bond issue. The city.
So in essence, we're from ourselves. Yes? It's a bond for the city. Hold on, guys, hold on.
If I can just provide some comment on that.
Please.
The city actually issued, we looked at bonding as an option, and we ended up going with BBVA, and we financed $3 million project for the water meter project. So it's not being repaid to the city, it's being repaid to an outside banking institution.
Approximately how much money would it be down if we eliminate those two fees?
I don't know the actual amount offhand.
Here's what I'm looking at, okay? Yes, people have, is it 1990s on, either had it already set up or had the meters put in place. It was done at the behest of the person who built the home. The person who bought the home, they bought the house as it was. They didn't pay an interest rate other than mortgage. What we're asking these people to do is, hey, we want you to take the meter, but also we want to charge you 5% on top of that. I see a serious problem with that. I can't palate that one.
Yeah.
Are you done?
I'm done.
Okay.
Thank you.
I agree with what Councilman Cruz has said. And quite frankly, when this was first brought up, I think I made the comment that it appeared punitive to charge interest on something that somebody doesn't want in the first place. And this was over a year ago. The unfortunate part is that most people did not receive a notice, and you don't read the newspaper unless it affects you. And you certainly don't go to the classified ads and look under public notices to see what exactly is on the agenda tonight that may have an effect on me in a year. I mean, you just don't do that. And I think, in one sense, the city does not do, and it's not just the city, it's all cities, they don't do as good a job as they can to get the information out there to let the voter and the individual know what is coming down the road and what's going to hit you in your pocketbook. I mean, it just doesn't happen. But I'd like to digress just a little bit. what irritates me most, and I think I've been the only one that's consistently voted no on water meters and any change to the water system, is that after 2004, when we knew we had the mandate to install water meters by 2025, there was a phased program that was in place up until at least 2011, which is when I quit working for the city. When I came back as a council member, there had been a change, and it was decided that we would do the city all at once rather than phasing it up through 2025, which I saw as, I understand what staff is saying, that, you know, you get a better bang for your buck and everybody gets done, and everybody's paying for what they're using. Well, that may be true, but we still don't know what it's going to cost us, because we'll be faced with a tiered system once these meters are installed. And state law mandates that we read these meters once they're installed. So we don't have an option of not reading them until 2025, and then, oh, now we'll start reading the meters. Whatever you use, you're going to be charged for. So my point is to stay connected to the city and pay attention when the tiered rate issue comes before the council, because you really need to be vocal. You need to stand up and say what you think. Absent that, we're going to end up with another protest hearing, except it's probably going to be too late. That's all I have for right now. Thank you.
I would just make a comment. Over the past, I don't know how long, we have had consistent citizens come to this council meeting and say, when are you going to put the meters in? It's not right that the people that live next door, including senior citizens, are two people to the family of 4 or 6 paying the same amount of money. So I hear your point of view, but at the same time, we've been hearing another point of view saying this isn't fair. And, you know, if we are borrowing money to install these meters, we are paying interest on that money. As good guardians of the fiscal policy, we should be recovering that. It's not my money. It's the taxpayers' money that we are spending to pay for the interest. You know, the drought that we're in, we can ignore it, or we can try to manage it. And I'm a senior citizen. I've lived here. I'm going to have to go through the same thing that the rest of you are going through. Just a side note, which I'm sure doesn't matter a bit to you, but I am going to share it with you anyway. My son lives in Texas. I used to live in Texas. They've been on water meters forever. When I moved out here from Texas, I was surprised that we weren't on meters. He's paying $400 a month for his water. And I just feel like we've been so lucky with what we've been paying for the water out here. Again, I'm saying I think we've had maybe not just as many people, but we've had consistent people that have been saying, when are you going to get off your duff and get the water meters installed? And that's what we're trying to do.
I don't think any of us object to water meters. It's the fact that you're charging us to have something that you're telling us we've got to have.
No.
We don't mind having meters. Who here objects to having meters?
The state of California.
Excuse me, if you have something to say, I'm going to have to open up again and you have to come up here, which is,
Anyway.
sorry, but there are procedures. It was open, but then I closed it. I mean, I'll open it again if you want to speak, it's fine.
Anyway,
Okay.
that's the comments I wanted to make. We've been, as a council, we've been listening to other people as well, saying it's not fair that we don't have water meters.
Right.
So, you know, unfortunately, they're not here tonight to back that up, but we've been pressured to get the water meters on to be fair.
Well, and I agree with you to a certain degree, Barbara, but there was a plan to put meters in, and it was never determined that whoever wanted a meter could not get a meter. That we never got to that point, because the decision was made to meter the entire city. So I mean, I think individuals, had it gone to the end there, maybe they would have been able to get their meter as part of the phase-in program that was abandoned in the city. And I think because there were discussions back then regarding that specific subject. So I still have some misgivings about this whole issue.
Yeah, and we waited, you know, is this the right time? And do we get a better deal if we do it now and we're not waiting to the last minute when we're almost being held up because we have to get the meters in? That's business.
I understand.
And you know that's what will happen.
We still got 11 years, though. That's a
Well,
long time. That's a long time for technology improvements. I mean, there's all arguments you've heard before, but
And
I mean,
like I'm saying,
yeah.
since I've been on the council, we've had people saying, when are you going to get the meters in? So, you know, trying to make people happy and be smart business-wise as well, because it's not our money, it's the taxpayers' money, and we have to find how can we get them the most for their money. And that's what we're trying to do. That's what staff is trying to do.
I agree.
Thank you.
I just want to mention that, you know, we've talked about, you know, why are we waiting and I mean, why are we getting it now, not waiting till 2025? And as Mr. Winkler had mentioned that, you know, not only is it going to be hard to find contractors that are going to double their price because there's such demand, but the price of the meters are going to double, is what I'm in fear of. And so when that time comes, then we're going to have other constituents up here going, why didn't you install them back in 2014 when you already had all this talk done and that plan to go? So
I want Mr. Winkler's crystal ball.
Well, and the
So
other,
I want that one.
and the other thing is,
That's all I've got.
as we know with water, we're getting you get fined if you don't do what you're supposed to do by a certain time. If we didn't get all those meters in, even though it's 11 years and we know what's going on, we could be fined daily for not having them all in. And the federal government doesn't charge just peanuts when they start fining you daily, as we're finding out with the water issues.
We need to have a quick question.
Okay.
I'm going to throw a hypothetical at you real quick. So say we had enough people who turned in their requests to not have it done. Who pays for it?
In the event of majority protest, we could not legally impose the proposed fees. So we would then have to come back to council with some further policy decisions. One policy decision is not to install the meters at this time, absent funding. I would point out that we've already awarded a contract to install it, and we would have to go and terminate at least a portion of that contract, which might have some legal and cost ramifications. We also borrowed money, which will have to be paid back. That'll have some interest ramifications, and I think there's a period of time before we could make an initial repayment. So there would be cost of money involved in that. We also would likely find ourselves missing out on opportunities for future state funding. They are now tying future bond proceeds and grants and low interest loans to how progressive a city's been in meeting these new requirements for water conservation. So there are sort of unintended consequences. But we could elect, the council could direct that we delay that we further spread this to all users through future water rates, and that would be subject to the same 218 process. So you would kind of get a catch-22 if you proceeded without this funding at least authorized. And again, we're back to the equity issue of who should pay for what. So we don't, the audience has commented that we don't have to do it now. That's correct, and we've, both my predecessors and since I came here, we've vetted several of those options, and we're currently at the point where we've awarded a contract, we borrowed money, we said at the time we'd be coming back with this process prior to the installation of the unmetered meters, and so we're at that point in the process. We are not proposing any rate changes. The rates already exist for metered rates. We are not proposing that as soon as the meters are installed, that people would migrate immediately. It's all in the form and the frequently asked questions, that we would defer that decision for at least 6 months or so, till everybody's meters in, until we've seen some usage, and then we would give 2 mock billings covering 4 months, since we bill bi-monthly, and people would get an opportunity to see, here's what my flat rate bill is, but if I was metered today, here's what the bill would be. And those that are using less than an average amount of water in a residence would see that they're actually paying more with the flat rate than they would pay under a new metered rate, or the existing metered rate. Others who are using more than the average amount will get a little sticker shock and say, whoa, I'm going to be paying a lot more when I go to a meter. That gives them a chance to look for leaks, to change out sprinklers, to put in timers, to do water conserving, put in fixtures in their homes that are more water conserving. They'd have 4 months of time before we'd actually assess them a billing on a metered rate. So we tried to take a thoughtful, timely, not a rushed approach to this. So folks are actually looking at probably 6 to 8 months before they would even begin to see a metered rate. But we need to have a decision on whether we're going to charge this before we actually install those meters.
I thought the meters were going to be installed like through this summer.
Meter installation just began this week. We are starting in the areas that are getting replacement meters for existing meters to bring them up to the new radio read features that give us leak detection and other options. The last meters that would go in will be the meters that are subject to this fee, and we've held off on those pending this decision tonight, so that you would have some policy options in the event of a majority protest, or in the event council is not ready to impose the fee.
So the answer, or not the answer, but off of Mr. Councilman Cruz's point, the ratepayer would end up paying it as they would be paying for the meter box upgrade lids, the non-standard fittings, and the non-standard installation if it were paid out of rates. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Kurt, I'm not picking you up very well.
Sorry about that.
Mr. Cruz, if I may, Madam Mayor, you did ask a question earlier that did not get answered, and I think it was a good one. What kind of interest costs are we looking at if we waive it? About half of the fee is an administrative fee, less than $1 a month to set up a billing and a follow-through system on the collection of the proposed fees, spread out over 36 months. Approximately half, depending on the size of meter you get, would be interest on the meter installation costs that we'd be funding. If you took, I just did some quick sort of back of the napkin math. If I take the 2,883 non-metered and assume that everybody wanted to carry that over the 3-year payment plan and applied approximately $30 to that as an interest fee, we're looking at in the ballpark of $86,000 in interest that we'd be paying back on those loans.
Total? That's a total cost?
For interest. And you could about double that if you also waived the administrative fee in the ballpark of $175,000.
So what you're telling me, for about $190,000, we could just charge people for the meters and be done with it?
That would be the cost that would get spread to all users as part of the utility if you waive those fees.
See, that would go to all users.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor,
Yes?
could you open this meeting back up 5 minutes?
I sure can.
Thank you.
Thank you for following procedure.
Dave Darchuk. I apologize for not being more prepared. I should have been. Hear a lot of talk about fees and pays and interest. As I stated earlier, I worked for a water company in Southern California, municipal water company with the city. It was very profitable. No one paid for anything.
Why couldn't and again, I didn't get an answer, and I know you're not up there to answer questions tonight, but I didn't get an answer if this is a municipal water company or not, if it's city-owned. But if it is,
It is, it's city-owned.
it'll be profitable. Why not take some of that profit and pay for all this? I don't think this loan's going to be paid back, or bonds or whatever, however it was funded, is going to be paid back in 3 years. I'm sure it's going to be paid back over quite a long period of time. In that period of time, I would think if it's run business-wise, which I'm sure it will be, it'll be very profitable, and you'll have more than enough money to pay for all these fees. It just, that to me makes good business sense, especially public business sense. Again, you speak to the folks that have already paid, and I understand that. Nobody wants to pay for something that they've already, but we do it with the police department. We do it with the Parks and Rec. That was all here when I moved here. Somebody paid for all that before I did, and then I came in and began paying my share. Water company will operate the same way, maybe not the same way as the police department. But believe me, as far as they won't operate the same way the police department does, because the water company will be making money. It'll be profitable, as long as it doesn't go entirely back into the general fund. That's another story.
No,
But that's something, that's food for thought.
it doesn't go back into the general fund.
I wasn't looking for an answer, but thank you.
You're welcome.
Then I know, because our water company in Southern California was so profitable and the funds could not go back into the general fund, we couldn't spend it fast enough. We couldn't give our customers good enough service. The water department had the newest trucks, the newest tools, the newest everything, because we had to keep putting it back into the water department. I lived in Southern California longer than the 25 years I've lived in Galt. I don't want to move back to Southern California. But I never recall anybody in any town, anywhere that was newly incorporated or whatever, paying for water meters.
Mr. Dorchuk, your time's up. Thank you for your comment.
Well, thank you.
sir.
Okay.
Laura Janovich. I just had a question. I didn't hear anything about maintenance. And if the boxes are an option and you don't have maintenance, one hit with a little red wagon, who pays for that? I think if we're gonna, and the cosmetics of it is, I don't live in the home at 134 Branding Iron Way, but I sure maintain it. It has a pool. I pay a pool service to make sure it's running efficiently. I pay pest control as the owner. I pay the city a Galt bill. I am absorbing all these costs. It's very important to me that my home looks very good. You can drive by there anytime you want. We just repainted it last week. I have excellent tenants in there. I want to keep it that way. And I think if you don't require the boxes to be on there, it's going to look horrible. There's going to be high maintenance on it. Who's going to absorb that? I haven't heard anything about that yet. Thank you.
Look, it's a quickie, but I forgot to say it. Okay, Al Baldwin again. I bought my house when we moved to Galt on the east side on Adair Way. I would think that was the third one that was doing it. And they had to put in these boxes for the meters, right? Now, how did I pay for that then?
When you bought the house.
Really? How much do you think that water meter cost me if I was still there under a 30-year contract? A lot. This is a bargain.
Thanks, Al.
George Williams. I'm living 904 Colebrook Way, Galt. I work for a water utility. We sell water for 1 CF, how do you say this? CCF unit of water equals 100 cubic feet of water. 100 cubic feet of water is 7.48 gallons, 748 gallons of water. We sell that for 40 cents. Now, why can't we get water that cheap? 748 gallons of water is a lot of water. Standby charge on a standard meter for a 1-inch meter is $65 every 2 months. You guys should consider a system similar to the one that I work for that works. It actually has money in the bank. It actually works. I'll pass this paper out to you and you can look at the situation on it and see how it works. The utility is doing well. We're not in debt. And everything that we have is money in the bank. Keeps the lights on and it's money constantly coming in. And that's lower than the rate that I pay for a flat rate. Because my flat rate is $70 a month.
Hi, Gene Davenport. I hear everybody talking about up here, and I understand the position, to delay it, put it out further, it wouldn't be cost effective yet. In one of his remarks, the gentleman said that, you would also suffer the consequences of terminating the contract that you guys signed for the installation. My question is, why would you sign a contract when it hasn't been approved by City Council yet? I understand going and fixing the existing meters, for leaks and whatnot, but to sign a contract for something that hasn't been approved yet.
It was approved.
It was approved by you guys. You guys approved this program.
The council approved it.
Why are we doing this tonight then? If it's already been approved, why are we here?
That has to do with the whole meter installation program, Gene.
Okay.
Not just the meter fee as it relates to these specific properties. I'm sorry. It dealt with the entire meter installation program, not just these meters that need to be installed on certain properties.
Okay, but what he said was that you guys would have a financial loss because the contract was signed about this specific program to put these meters in, not including the repairs that they're going to start with, that you were going to segue right into this new program. So it seems to me it's been set up, and this is a dog and pony show to a point. Because I hear what you guys are saying, and I'm glad to hear what Mark said about waiving the fees, because I really think that's important. This city should be able to afford to compensate to its customers through the fees they've already received to pay for this program, in essence. Because we're not losing money on the water system per se, but we're going to attach a fee for a meter, then the installation on top of it, along with an administration fee at an interest rate that's really unconscionable. It really is. I don't disagree with you. I think you guys really just need to think of this out a little bit and put it off for a couple of weeks at least and get more input from the public. I know you guys said you had these meetings prior and it went forever, and nobody showed up, nobody showed up, and this guy says, well, it counts more at the end. Well, in all honesty, a lot of people don't understand the process that you guys have to go through and what you guys have to do this. And I just think we need to step back a little bit. We don't need to, like I said, we need to put this off for 6 months, but we don't need to do it tonight. We really don't.
I just wanted to...
Tom Santiago again. A couple of questions because staff brought up some items that I'm a little bit concerned about. I'm talking about RF metering. Does that mean the city right now, the existing meters that are paid for this stuff already, they're already on existing RF meters?
Sure.
No, the city is moving to a new smart meter system, which would be radio read, and part of this contract has been to install and upgrade existing meters and install receivers throughout the city to accept that data, and will actually ultimately save the city and the ratepayers money in the long run, because we want to go out and individually read meters.
Well, that's your cost recovery then, because you don't have to go out and hire people to read meters. That's the same thing that SMUD did. SMUD went out and installed RF meters because of the cost incurrence of hiring meter readers. They got rid of a whole department because of that. And I would suggest that your savings, your cost savings that's being spread, should be spread across the whole city. Because you're going to a new meter. You're not going to an old meter. I want the cheaper meter if you want to do that. Go out and read it. If you're going to get a new meter, then spread it across the entire city, because that's a new project.
If I may, Madam Mayor.
Yeah.
In essence, we're doing exactly that in replacing the existing meters. Those who have already paid for meters and have built into the metered rate the cost of future replacement of those meters are paying. It is coming out of that portion of the fund balance. We're now, the difference between the example that the gentleman mentioned is SMUD already had meters everywhere. So they're essentially doing the same thing we did. To save money on reading those meters, they went to a smart meter. PG&E's done the same thing, other water utilities. The difference here is we've got a third of the city that doesn't have meters and hasn't paid for meters. And so the questions, so we don't get lost in the semantics, are how do we pay for putting those first meters in for a third of the city, and who should pay for that, and how much should that be? So yes, we'll put in a smart meter so that we can save money reading those, but there's no money for the initial meter read. Those are extra bills the city's going to have to send out, where we're now having to read those bills, turn those into an automated billing, send it out instead of a flat bill that just goes out in the mail. So we offset those costs with meter reading efficiencies has been the recommendation that council has supported. So in essence, I think the gentleman is in agreement with the general direction the city's going, although we may disagree with the fine points of how it's being done.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, back to council again. Barbara, you can have.
What kind of maintenance have we been incurring? It sounds like we should have all this extra money, but it seems like we've talked about having to work on some of our wells and maybe even replace some. It's not like there's not maintenance costs in order to provide water to all the people that live here. Can you just sort of talk about that a little bit?
As far as being a profit center for the city, neither your water nor sewer systems are. State law requires that we cannot charge more, nor can any water system that is sets its own rates. If they're under a Public Utilities Commission, there's a different rate setting process that goes through a regulatory body. But local agencies, public water systems, if you please, cannot make money. We can only recover our costs of service with reasonable reserves set aside for future replacement costs and upgrades to the water system. So there may be water systems where they built into their costs nice new vehicles and nice new wells and nice, the best available. I would also suggest that if one was to look at, I didn't hear any community names mentioned, but I would voucher that you'd be hard pressed to find any community in Southern California that doesn't charge at least twice as much as what Galt does, and they have millions of customers in their database. We've got to spread those costs to a finite group of 7,000 properties. And so our economy of scale compared to a metropolitan water district that serves 24 million customers is we have to meet the same standards, have same requirements, but we have to spread it to 7,000 people. And our water rates are very competitive in the valley and certainly are much less expensive than most major metropolitan areas, particularly in the South States. So I think when you hear these kinds of assertions that it warrants some actual research, then we'd be happy to give you rate comparisons going forward at the council's request. We have tried each time we brought any rate proposal on sewer or water to give you a quick comparison of Sacramento and Elk Grove and Lodi and Stockton. Try to stay in our region to show sort of what apples and apples looks like. And generally the city is in the lower 50 percentile of what rates are in the region.
Thank you.
Anything else, council? Okay, well, Liz, do you want to read the motion?
Conduct a public hearing on proposed water meter installation fees and receive a report on the tabulation of written protests, and in absence of a majority protest, adopt a resolution approving the water meter installation fee.
Okay, council, anybody want to make a motion?
Excuse me, Madam Mayor, before you entertain a motion, I'd recommend that you have a final tally of the protest from the city clerk.
Okay, I'm sorry, Liz.
I believe we still.
That's you.
And I would point out that this number you're about to receive would be an unvalidated number, just assuming that everything received is valid. We'd have to compare, is it a valid address, is it a valid owner, or our customer. We don't want people that aren't being charged the fee to be able to vote against it. So we would have to validate those. However, to have a majority protest, again, the number necessary in compliance with Prop 218 would be 1,442 protests.
Okay, so you need 1,442 protests.
And I have 88.
And you have 88.
Madam Mayor, for the purposes of tonight's hearing, I'd recommend that you consider all 88 as valid protests.
Okay, we'll do that. So we have 88 protests.
Correct.
Valid.
Okay.
Okay, does anybody want to make a motion?
I'd move that we not charge a fee. That's my motion.
What kind of fee? The whole fee?
The whole fee schedule.
For the meter or?
For the meter, the proposed one-time meter fees. That we do not impose it.
And do you have anything else to say about where the money will come from or anything, or?
Well, based on the discussions tonight, it would appear to me that it would come out of the rate structure, such as was planned to do for the meter box upgrades, the non-standard fittings, and the non-standard installation costs. So it would be wrapped into the same thing.
And any thoughts on the people who have already paid for their meters, even though it was over a good period of time? I'm sorry.
On the prior fees, they ranged in rate from, as I recall, somewhere around $110 to $125 up to maybe $250 to $300 at the high end. So I don't think that that difference, and it was paid as part of the total package when they purchased their home.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know that an individual, and there may have been individual cases where people had to purchase a meter if they were building their own house, but most of them, it was purchased through a contractor, was part of the cost of the home. So therefore, they did pay for it, but did they actually pay specifically for that? No, it was part of their overall cost.
Okay. So do I have a second on Councilmember Campion's motion? Okay. So it dies for lack of a second. Do I hear a motion on, did you read this? I did, okay, I'm sorry. Do I have a motion on, in the absence of a majority protest, adopt a resolution approving the water meter installation fee? Do I have a motion?
I so move that we move forward with this.
Do I have a second?
Recommend.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, call for the vote.
Vice Mayor Singleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Payne?
Aye.
Councilmember Campion?
No.
Councilmember Cruz?
No.
Mayor Powers?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes on a 3-2 vote. Council members Singleton, Payne, and Powers in favor, and Cruz and Campion against.
Okay, thank you, and we're on to the City Council Office, Galt Community Alliance Committee Report. Yeah, I'm ready for you.
Might have to give it a minute to clear out.
Yeah. You know what? Exactly. Okay, take a deep breath, Barbara. I think I need a glass of water.
My report for the Galt Community Alliance. The purpose of the Galt Community Alliance and the Shop Local Committee is one of community education, support, and communication. They are both sponsored by the city and the Galt Chamber of Commerce. The Galt Community Alliance and the Shop Local Committee agreed that they would merge, with the Galt Community Alliance meeting with the Shop Local Committee the second Wednesday of the month at 8:30 at the Parks and Recs building. The Shop Local Committee continues to meet every week on Wednesday. This has worked very well, allowing us to pool our resources to expand and support activities. The attendance is representative of the Commission on Aging, the Beautification Committee, the Galt Youth Committee, the Galt Community of Character Coalition, and local businesses and service clubs. At the last meeting, the Chamber, the Real Men's Club, the Sunrise Rotary, and the Historical Society, in addition to the city committees, were represented. Sue Roberts, president of the Galt Community of Character Coalition, presented their plan to host a multicultural event at Harvey Park once it is completed to celebrate the diversity of the community, and she asked for the consideration of support from the other members. It was well received and demonstrates the success of the group supporting each other. The Galt Community Alliance calendar helps to communicate the activities in the community and alleviate competition among events. We continue to try to involve more groups and the city to post events on the calendar. The calendar can list events as much as a year in advance, allowing groups and organizations to pick the best date for their activities. Also, by the group meeting in the Parks and Recs building, usually either Monica Lopez or Amanda Solis can attend. This helps coordinate planning events with the city. We appreciate the support of the city and feel the Galt Community Alliance is a benefit to the community in many ways.
Very good. And you're also getting ready real soon for your thing in the park, right?
Country in the Park.
Country in the park.
The thing in the park.
Galt Milk.
And we are going to be honoring the dairy industry in the area, and the theme for our event is Galt's Milk.
No, you got to say it a little better than that. Galt's Milk? You know.
No, can't do it that way.
Okay.
Got to be exclamation points.
Okay.
We don't want to. Yep.
Okay, thank you very much for that report, Barbara.
You're welcome.
Okay, now we're at the Harvey Park Housing-Related Grant Project Priority List, Armando. Are you still with us?
City Council. At the January 7th City Council meeting, City Council directed staff to work with the Parks and Rec Commission, Galt Youth Baseball, known as GYB, and citizens to develop a project list for Harvey Park should the city receive a housing-related grant it applied for. At the February 12th Parks and Rec Commission meeting, staff invited a rep from Galt Youth Baseball, GYB, Beautification Committee, and public to put together a project wish list for Harvey Park. In June, the city was awarded $184,000 to start these projects. At the July 9th Parks and Rec Commission meeting, staff invited a rep from GYB who are the main users of the facility to help the commission prioritize that list that we had developed in February. There was not a quorum of commissioners at that meeting, so the decision was made to move forward to prioritize that list with 2 commissioners, the GYB rep, and Parks and Rec staff. That list was included in your staff packet report. If you could turn to that report, and if you could go to number 11, safety lights.
Hold on, just a minute. I didn't put my dividers in. Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
The subtotal on the right column kind of goes, shows where we are at that $184,000. As you see, number 11, the safety lights kind of exceeds that. And so staff is recommending that we skip 11, go on to 12, 13, and 14, and with any money left over, then start either 16, the community garden, or the safety lights. I would like to add that Chief Bowen had one of his officers go out and evaluate Harvey Park for the safety lights, because we had made some modifications, fixed some light bulbs, brought up the tree elevation, and just to take a look at what, if for the police department, was the light sufficient. And the officer reported back that they felt that it was sufficient, that there was no need for additional safety lighting at this time. So I did take this back to the Parks and Rec Commission, the finalized list, hoping to get a recommendation at their last meeting in August, last Wednesday. I did not have a voting quorum again for the Parks and Rec Commission, so this is, the list you have now is from the 2 Parks and Rec Commissioners, a Galt youth baseball representative, who are the main users of the facility, and Parks and Rec staff. So staff would like council to consider the Harvey Park housing-related project priority list from those 2 members of the Parks and Rec Commission, Galt Youth Baseball, and the Parks and Recreation staff, and provide direction to us.
Well, I'm very sorry, but I still can't find it, so I'm looking.
I think it's unfortunate that you couldn't get a quorum 2 months in a row. Is that correct?
Correct. The first one was due to, we only had 2 members show up. The third one, we had 3 members show, but 1 abstained due to his residence being in close proximity to the park.
Oh, it conflicted out.
Yes.
Let's backtrack just a little, what were you suggesting? I'm sorry.
Staff is just asking you to consider the priority list.
Okay.
Make any changes. The alternatives are to reject the priority list, create a new priority list, or direct staff to return to the Parks and Rec Commission and obtain an official commission recommendation, but we have gone twice now.
Okay, well, I'm going to go first this time.
Sure. Go right ahead.
Once in a while I just get to do that. You know, since this was looked at by people that really know what is needed and they're there all the time, I'm perfectly happy with going with their list.
That would be going 1 through 10 and 11 through 14?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry, it would not. That would go 1 through 10, 12, 13, and 14, and then any money left over would be
community garden.
Yeah, or safety lights, but we don't feel that there is no need for the lights, so you can have that money go directly to the community.
Because they don't do anything, games or anything at night there, do
No,
they?
and that lighting is not used for the public to use the park. It is used for the police department to monitor the park.
Oh, okay. So do I have a motion?
Well, wait,
Okay.
I still had something I didn't know. Did you have something?
No,
Fred? Oh,
Right,
okay.
make a motion.
Oh, okay. I just had, where is it at here? So you're just saying 1 through 10, correct?
No.
With the exception of 12, 13, and 14?
No,
No.
including 12, 13,
Or including, okay.
Skipping 11.
Yeah, I see that.
and then including 16.
So where are we talking about, well, they probably don't even know yet. We are talking about cameras in that park then?
Is it on the list?
Number 10.
Yes, cameras will be included in that $184,000.
Can I do something?
Yes, you can.
When you're through.
Oh, I had another question. I'm sorry?
No,
Some
nobody
issue?
said.
Oh, okay. It says to remove fence from dugout, on one of these. That's not in that, right? Okay, Is that something that they're considering later on or something?
No, that is in it. One
The what?
through 10 is in it.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Is in
number
it.
4, yes.
Yes, and that is at the request of Galt Youth Baseball.
Well, I just have a little safety issue with that. If there's a foul ball or something, then one of these kids can get hit with that foul ball, or
It will
was it
be
placed
replaced.
as safety before?
No, it will be replaced. They're moving,
Oh.
what they're doing now is they're moving down the dugout
Yeah.
to allow the spectators to have a better view of the
Oh,
game
okay.
while they're actually putting it where the bullpens are, moving the spectators to where the dugout is, and then the bullpens will be moved out onto the field.
Well, that's good.
Okay.
Because I used to go to those games, and you can see them sometimes.
Right.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, that's all I had. Thank you, Armando.
Barbara?
I did want to say that we had presented the idea of the community garden to the Parks and Rec Commission early on and got their support. And I believe at that time there were 4 commissioners there. And Russ Flutie has come before the council and made a presentation as well on the community garden. But I serve on the First 5 Advisory Committee, and so I contacted them for ideas for the park and the community garden possibilities. First 5 is very excited about the idea of the added playground, but they also went on to say, in addition, I think that the community gardens are a wonderful idea. There are lots of ideas for community gardens. Is the park near a school? Perhaps you consider a great partnership where the school can use the community garden to teach the children and nutrition, science, math, and more. You will have a thriving, active garden in use, and more people in the community will care about the park, which is one of our goals, is to get people to be more active in the park to sort of recover it from the bad element that used to be there. The school can help with staff and parent volunteers to maintain the garden as well. Some schools also have parent groups or parent cabinets that you may want to tap into. Another partner to consider is a local nutrition program or local food bank. And we've talked about increasing nutrition to fight childhood obesity. These programs already focus on getting healthy foods to the community. Have staff in place that can help maintain the garden, well, that's another issue, and can provide great educational opportunities for Galt residents. Imagine the possibilities of garden tours, nutrition classes, and cooking demos and healthy food taste tests at the garden. Again, people will be drawn to the park and will see it as a resource. So I just kind of wanted to share with you the possibilities with the community garden. And I know we've already had a Boy Scout that has gotten this Eagle Scout project by getting water to the garden. So I'm hoping that we can get the money for the garden, but also try to get as much donated as well.
Not to rain on your parade or anything, but the fair side with the First 5 does have that community garden in the back. But First 5 has a ton of money, maybe, and if they suggested all this stuff, maybe writing a grant would be a great idea.
Well, I will certainly try. First 5 donates money for 0 to 5, so it might be possible. In fact, one of the things I approached them with was a garden for children.
Oh.
But the other area that we want to try to serve are the senior citizens that live in Galt Place that would like to have a place where they could maybe grow some fresh vegetables.
Right. Great. There are lots of possibilities and lots of places you can look to.
And I mentioned earlier that the Galt Community of Character Coalition, when this is completed, they want to try to host a multicultural event there to, again, try to make the neighborhood come out and be more of a community instead of some of the issues that we've had there in the past.
So we just got to be careful what they want to grow. Sorry.
Thank you.
Can I add one thing?
Yes,
I'm
you
sorry,
can.
I forgot to mention that Galt Youth Baseball is generously decided to pay for the relocation of the bullpens at a cost of $2,000.
Oh.
Repaint the scoreboard for $500 and install a new flagpole for $3,000. They've
Wow.
taken all of those
Wow.
off that list so we can tackle more.
Wow.
Just wanted to make sure that you guys were aware of the fact that they have decided to do this as an organization, as this is their home.
That's
Well,
awesome.
that's great.
So I just wanted to make sure you were aware of that.
That's
Really
a
not clear.
community coming together, that's great. Please
Okay.
express my thanks to council, I'm
Express
sure.
all of our thanks.
Yeah.
Do we have a motion, or you want to read it first, Les? Did you have something you wanted to say? I'm sorry. Oh, okay. Yes. Really fast.
Consider the Harvey Park housing-related project priority list from 2 members of the Parks and Recreation Commission, Galt Youth Baseball, and the Parks and Recreation staff, and provide direction.
Okay, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Call for the vote, please.
Hold on a second, Barbara, you had something?
I'm sorry.
What's the motion?
Yeah.
Items 1 through 10.
1 through 10.
12.
12, 13, 14.
14, and community gardens.
And
16, right.
Right.
That was the original
sorry.
motion, that was up there.
clarify.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, ready for the vote, please.
Vice Mayor Singleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Payne?
Aye.
Councilmember Campion?
Aye.
Councilmember Cruz?
Aye.
Mayor Powers?
Aye.
Unanimous?
Okay. Now we're to the award of contract for construction of the Vintage Oak Lift Station Improvement Project. Put the timer on for 3 minutes. He knows why I kid him.
Gwen, would you present this item? You might be in better favor right now. Madam Mayor, I'll talk quickly at the risk of muttering. This item
Would you
seeks
please?
Win.
You're not gonna let that one go, are you?
This item
Yes,
seeks authorization to award a construction contract for the Vintage Oak Lift Station Improvement Project to TNT Industrial Contractors for the low bid amount of $260,111. We're also recommending a contingency amount of $38,889 to address unanticipated construction issues. The project will construct a temporary bypass for the city sewer lift station located at the Carillion and Vintage Oak intersection. And this lift station serves approximately 95% of the city's customers located east of Highway 99. It's a major facility for us. Following installation of the temporary bypass, the existing lift station will be gutted and rehabilitated, including the installation of new pump rails, safety equipment, relining of the wet well, and reinstallation of new pumps and motors. This is the second time the project was advertised for bids. We previously, you may recall, rejected bids due to some bid irregularities and a limited number of bidders. We did receive more bidders this time. The same low bidder was low both times. We do have no irregularities noted at this time. We find the low bid to be both responsive and responsible, and recommend that you award this, give us authorization to award this contract tonight. Work is anticipated to actually begin on the bypass probably in early October and be completed by November. There is a lead time on ordering equipment, so there's a delay. We don't want them tearing up streets until they're ready to go.
Very good, and
Tearing up streets?
To put in the temporary bypass from a manhole, we do have to put in temporary piping underground, so we're not going over bumps and humps in the road. That'll probably involve some lane closures for 1 or 2 days on Carillion, be open at night with plating. And then as we come around the corner on Vintage Oak to tie in to a downstream manhole, we'll have to plate and pipe. Traffic delay should be minimal. Roads will not be closed. We may have some lane closures and some traffic control delays or one-lane traffic, probably for a period of about 3 to 4 days. Once that's in and temporary pavement put back, then everything else will be done up on the station properly.
You're saying I'm gonna be bottled in my house till this is done?
We will attempt a hostage negotiation.
Hey, when you say the temporary bypass, is that something that comes out at the end of the project, or would you be able to capitalize it in the future if need be?
Yeah, in that we're going to pay for it. It seems a shame to pay for throwaway infrastructure. Yeah. So what we put in the specification is we reserve the right to either direct that it remain and just block off the pipes and things, but leave them in the ground, or we can have them removed. Part of the decision, the final decision, our current working intent still leave those in, so if we ever have a problem, we've got a quick fix to put some temporary pumps in one manhole and bypass the lift station. That would seem very prudent to us. If we get into issues with compromising other utilities and have to go under and over and make some crazy tie-ins, that may not be a good long-term solution. But our intent is to likely leave it in, but we have left the flexibility that we can make the command decision during the contract.
Good. Well, that is a very important project, with 99% of the water. Yeah, I mean,
The whole east side of town.
Yeah.
We lose that lift station, we're down to 2 temporary pumps and need to get those permanent rails and put new pumps back in.
Otherwise, it could be very messy.
Yeah, it could.
And smelly.
Ooh. Okay, Liz, do you mind, anybody else have anything they want to say? Okay, Liz, would you read it, please?
Sure. Adopt a resolution to authorize, number one, the city manager to execute an agreement with TNT Industrial Contractors Incorporated for construction of the Vintage Oak Lift Station Improvement Project in the amount of $260,111. And number two, a supplemental contingency amount of $38,889 to address unanticipated construction issues. And number three, the city manager to execute contract change orders within the approved contingency amount. And number four, the public works director to file a notice of completion upon satisfactory completion of the improvement.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second, please.
She needs a second.
I got it. I heard both of them.
Yeah.
I know who I heard first, and I know who I
Which
heard
one did you
second.
put first? You put in first? Okay. And then
That's
you-
what I heard first, and then I heard.
Okay,
you
I'll second that.
Okay.
Okay, don't fight over the first and second.
Well, I'm not, I just want to make sure that, you know, I'm
I got
not.
it. Call for the vote.
Okay.
Vice Mayor Singleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Payne?
Aye.
Councilmember Campion?
Aye.
Councilmember Cruz?
Aye.
Mayor Powers?
Aye.
Unanimous?
Okay, now we're on to the approval of memorandum of understanding with the Sacramento Area Council of Governments for Community Design Grant Funding for the Second Street Infill Project.
Madam Mayor, this is good news. We're happy to bring some funding in for this, and Ms. Gwen Owens will give you a quick, brief presentation on this while I get up her one slide.
SACOG had a call for community design grants in the spring of 2013. Community design grants focus on making transportation corridors and areas more pedestrian and transit friendly. The city, maybe the slide won't come up.
Working on it.
The city submitted the Second Street project, which entailed installing missing curb, gutter, and sidewalk, and the installation of ADA compliant ramps on Second Street from A to F Street. SACOG awarded the city $100,000 with a city match of $10,000. The funds are local funds, thus only CEQA is required for the project. The project is anticipated to be constructed next summer. For SACOG to provide the city these funds, a memorandum of understanding has to be executed between the city and SACOG. Thus, staff is asking City Council to approve the MOU. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Glenn. Any questions, anyone? This is good news. This
Yeah,
is nice.
that's good.
And you have no idea how tight it was between different agencies and how to get that money. It was-
Did you go up there and stand up for us? Did you do
Of course.
Good job. Okay, can I, would you please read the motion, Liz?
Yes, adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a memorandum of understanding with the Sacramento Area Council of Governments for the Community Design Grant funding for the Second Street Infill Project.
So moved.
Second.
Call for the vote, please.
Vice Mayor Singleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Payne?
Aye.
Councilmember Campion?
Aye.
Councilmember Cruz?
Aye.
Mayor Powers?
Aye. Okay, now we're on to the city clerk's report.
Just a couple reminders. There's a beautification committee meeting this Thursday at 3:30 in the community room. There's a Commission on Aging meeting August 28th at 5:15 in the California room over at Parks and Rec. On September 1st, the city offices will be closed in honor of Labor Day, and that takes us to our next city council meeting.
Wow. Boy, time's flying, isn't it?
Hmm.
Okay.
So much fun.
I know. Comments by staff? I want to say welcome back, Inez. We missed you.
Yes.
And hi, Mr. Stewart. Just say hello because you didn't get to say much today. Okay. And anyone down here? Paula?
I didn't hear from the chief
And
either.
Chief?
man.
You've got something to say. What'd you do Saturday?
Oh, that.
Oh,
Well, they had the graduation for Officer Greener, and he was here tonight being sworn in. And then in the afternoon, we took 28 kids to the River Cats game through the Galt Police PAL Activities League program.
Yay.
yeah, good job. Awesome.
There's a lot of people that were involved in it.
That's great.
All right, and we thank them all.
Yes.
Jason, Steve, Kurt,
Nothing.
Mark.
Nada. League of Cities
Barbara?
coming up.
Oh,
I
yeah.
brought you copies of the merchant folder that Shop Local is going to be listing all the businesses.
Minus
There's
one
a-
letter.
There's a nice little map of
Little-
Galt
Yeah.
and a sticker for them to put on their window that says Shop Local and other things. I brought one to each of you. So just
Thank
pass
you.
it down. You're welcome.
Thank you. I already saw it. Here, no, I want to keep one. That's good. Very good.
Everybody, right here.
Okay, now, anything else, Barbara?
No.
Okay, Councilman Vice Mayor. Sing us in.
Hey, I just did want to say one thing, because I've noticed something, we're in this water shortage, this drought, and I've noticed something at night, that people's water sprinklers will be going off, and then there'll be some that don't have the sprinklers actually on them, so please go out to your yard and on like Saturday or even tomorrow, turn your water sprinklers on and make sure you don't have any of those things gushing up water, because it'll help everybody conserve water.
They sound like gushers, too.
Yeah, you
I've
can
heard
hear
of
'em.
at night, my neighbors.
Yeah, and I'm
have
like,
gone
how
over.
did they not wake up
Yeah,
to that?
yeah.
I mean, because that would wake me
Sounds
up.
like
But-
old
so I
baseball.
just wanted to make, if you're not sure about your system, ask somebody. And that's all I have.
Okay, this gentleman has
Have
something.
something.
Yes, go ahead.
And I'm not trying to be oversensitive, but the remarks made about letting out another contract, the way that they were made and how they came across, I felt were unprofessional and disparaging, and I feel that they were rude. It's one thing to make those comments in private when the meeting is finished, but that goes out over public access, public media. And I felt that it was disparaging to the citizens that came to this meeting with their feelings and with their opinions. And if you want to hold those opinions and you want to talk to people about, in private, your colleagues, and make those remarks, that's one thing. But to put it out over the public media, I felt was extremely unprofessional. And I'm sure you hold another view. You won. Be satisfied that you won. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. One thing I wanted to say is I did attend with the police chief the graduation ceremony for Officer Greener, and it was very impressive. And I think the fun thing for us was they had 53 graduates, and there were 17 that were already placed, and one of them was one of our guys. And he was sitting in the audience in the graduation line with his Galt police uniform on. And so that was very nice, and was a nice ceremony. It was a fun thing to do. So with that, I'll adjourn the meeting unless anybody wants to hang around and, okay.